This episode of the Two Dads Podcast is powered by the Salina Moose Lodge 1473, the spot where live music meets good times. And here's what's coming up this week. On Tuesday, August 26th, it's Tiki Tuesday, my favorite holiday, with Derek and friends kicking things off at 5 p.m. on the big patio. Thursday, August 28th, Josh Taylor takes the stage at 7 p.m. On Friday, August 29th, Goodnight Gracie keeps the weekend rolling at 7:30 p.m. And on Saturday, here's where it all starts to begin. Saturday, August 30th, it's a full day. The Moose Stock Open Golf Outing tees off at 1 p.m. Will Freed brings the music at 2 p.m. and City Lights keeps the party going at 7:30 p.m. And then the Mecca, the end-all, be-all. It's Sunday, August 31st, the grand finale, Moose Stock 2025 starts at 11 a.m. You don't want to miss this. It's one epic day. Multiple bands and the kind of energy you get only once a year, so make sure you don't miss it. Amazing weekend from the Salina Moose Lodge 1473. If you want to be part of something special, something different, and something unique, join the Salina Moose Lodge today. Hello, and welcome to the Two Dads Podcast, episode number 28. I'm your boy, OG Pickle, in the hot spot. Did you do it today, Bill?
No, I just keep throwing you off now.
Dude, we have to stop the podcast. We'll have to reset. What's up, buddy? How you been?
Hey, how are you, buddy? No, I'm doing good, man. Glad to be back in the seat. We got through fair. We got through a couple other things, and now we're back on our regular routine. So
I'm not back in my routine yet. If you can hear in my voice, I don't know if people, obviously if you listen to week, you'll tell right now, but I have been like sick. I don't know. My dad's like, Mitchell, you gotta slow down because you're gonna compromise your immune system. You know what I mean? And I really think that I did. There's some truth to that. So make sure, first tip of the day, we're gonna start out right away with some sentimental feedback from the podcast. If you are working too hard and overworking yourself, slow down because my immune system is definitely compromised and I don't know where I got it.
I've actually read the opposite, where there was something that I saw online that said like top performing CEOs and athletes just don't get sick because like they're just working so much they don't have time to get sick.
Everything's a lie.
I'm just saying somewhere that is. But anyways,
all right. But Bill, you're excited. I get it. I totally get it. Bill's a baseball guy. You've been a long-time baseball player. I mean, you've played in university too, so I'm excited. But just to describe this for our listeners, just to slow it down real quick, today on the Two Dads Podcast, we're sitting down with a guy who spent 13 years on the mound in Major League Baseball. Craig Stammen pitched 562 games, striking out 743 batters across nearly 900 innings with a steady 3.66 ERA, which that's pretty darn good, I will say. Drafted in the 12th round, you fought your way from a long shot to the big league mainstay, first with the Nationals, later with the Padres, where you became a clubhouse leader and a nominee for the Roberto Clemente Award. Now you're retired. You are back here in town after suffering a shoulder injury in 2023, and you stepped into a new role now in a couple different facets, which you can dive into today. First is the Padres front office. You're now in an advisor role, which is cool, but this episode isn't just about baseball stats. We don't want to go too deep with that, right? It's about the mindset that it takes to get there. That's definitely what we talked about before the cameras were rolling. We want to talk about the resilience it takes to stay there. How do you even get into the league? What is the lessons that translate into real life for anyone chasing success? And I don't care if this is baseball. I don't care if this is a career, school, or personal goals. I guess what I'm saying to everybody before we jump into Bill's first question is if you've ever wondered what it feels like to stand on the mound with everything on the line, or even how to reinvent yourself when life throws you a curveball, that is a pun intended, just so you guys know. This is the episode you need to hear. Bill Ray, I love to throw it back to you. Go ahead and kick us off, buddy.
Yeah, my first question for you, transitioning back home. How long have you been back home? Because I know that your last year was, 2023, right?
Mm-hmm. I would say I've been back home the whole time.
Okay.
Every offseason, I would come back either to North Star for a while. When I was in the minor leagues, I lived with my parents. I was, failure to launch for a little while. It's all good, though. And then
I still live at my mom's house. So I don't know. He's over here talking about the failure to launch I'm like, yeah, I'm in my mom's basement right now. That's fine. It's no big deal.
Yeah. So I would always come back in the off seasons, and we built a house, got married, built a house 2017. So we've been living in North Star in all the off seasons there. But officially retired early August of 2023. Came back home immediately, and we've kind of been, back quite a bit over the last 2 years.
So has it been a transition? Like, I guess, what was your last season? You were in Washington?
San Diego.
San Diego,
yeah.
sorry. So your last season you were in San Diego. first of all, you're not coming back every weekend then, right? Like in the off season, maybe. Is that a hard transition after a while? I'm sure growing up here, there's some charm, and then going to big city, it's a big jump. Like I'm sure there was a shock value, obviously, and now going back, is the transition difficult at all, or is it like a home sweet home feeling?
Not that difficult for me. I was looking forward to coming back home and slowing down and being part of this community, which I love. Raising my kids here, that was a big part of it. Do I miss Coronado, California, San Diego? Man, there's not a better place to live and be playing Major League Baseball than there.
What do you miss the most? Is it the food? Is it the nightlife? Like, I know players will gravitate. Like, sorry, Cleveland Brown fans. The one thing I hear the most is how disappointed they are because of they're like, man, I couldn't go to a big city like New York. What's one of the things you miss? Is it seafood? Like, what are we working with here?
I miss playing against the best. That's what I miss. I don't miss anything else outside of that.
So it wasn't anything to do with the food or the nightlife?
You know what? The only other thing was we had access to every good golf course we ever wanted to play.
That was my next question.
So I will say that I miss that.
You had mentioned a little bit, though. You said growing up in this community, and then you were excited to come back. Talk to us about growing up in this community. You obviously you had a soft spot for Little League Baseball. We were talking about St. Rose. We were talking about North Star and how much you think St. Rose sucks, which you're going to have a lot of angry.
You're going to have a
bag. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Hey, someone's got to lose every
back
game.
in '97.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were a dynasty after that. No, but did you ever picture yourself making it all the way to the leagues? Was it just about loving the game with friends? Like, talk to me about what it meant to be home and starting to play here.
Wow. I think every kid grows up wanting to be something. I wanted to be a professional baseball player, football player, and basketball player. And then when I started golfing, I probably wanted to be on the tour. But 1 for 4 ain't bad, I guess. But it's just one of those things. I love sports. I still love playing sports. Love watching. I'm entertained by it. And I was lucky enough to be good enough at baseball, and it kept going. And I just kept being good enough to get to the next level. Is basically what happened. But it did. It started in North Star. It started, playing against St. Rose and Maria Stein. And, looking back, me and Corey Lukey played Little League against each other. Maria Stein, North Star rivalry. I remember telling my dad, my last year at North Star, we're playing Maria Stein in the Marion Little League Championship game at St. Rose, actually.
Okay, we at least hosted it.
And, yeah, you hosted it.
So good. So good.
I said, Dad, if I can get a hit off this Lukey kid, that means I'm a pretty good hitter. And I think I got an infield single, so I got a hit off of him.
Line drive in the book.
So I think the coolest part about playing Little League Baseball back here is I can go to any of the bars around here, see somebody that I played Little League Baseball against, and we can tell, hey, St. Rose sucked stories.
We get comments from St. Rose guys all the time. They're gonna be on fire this episode. I can guarantee they're either adjusting their dial, fast forwarding, or they're taking notes right now, like a la like Billy Madison, where he's got the lipstick on the board,
the
back
little
of the
chart,
little revenge chart. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Lee Piron, he was St. Rose, right? I mean, he owns Caddies over there.
So I know a bar he's not going to right now is definitely Caddies.
Caddies. Be underserved. So growing up playing that, obviously you played in the MAC too, right? Just a super competitive baseball conference, competitive in really anything. Was there ever really a moment? I mean, I don't know when you signed your letter of intent to go to UD, but was there ever really a moment, unlocked to say like, hey, I might be able to make a career out of this? Did you ever realize when you finally found that, hey, I'm good enough, right? Like I think I'm good enough to go to the next level. Yeah. And it might have been even in college.
Yeah, I was definitely a late bloomer. And, my senior year was the first year that Versailles was in the MAC.
Okay.
And we had a good baseball team. I was our second best pitcher on our high school team. We had a guy, Josh Bruns, won MAC Player of the Year.
Is he good? He doesn't know who Josh Bruns is, but I played softball versus Josh Bruns for about 8 years.
He was nasty. Is nasty.
He still is. He's one of those guys that you just give him a ball and it's just, I've seen him hit softballs. Like I've cranked some softballs, right? Josh just flies them. It's probably like you in golf versus me in golf.
He's a hitter or is he a pitcher?
He was both.
Pitcher.
So he's a pitcher at the time. You were the number 2. Okay.
Yeah. He played outfield in softball, and you just don't even tag up in softball versus him. Like he's just and all the Bruns boys, really.
Yeah.
All of them, Ethan.
Yeah. He was our 3-hole hitter, our ace pitcher. I played shortstop most of the time. So my exposure to college coaches or being seen by somebody that would say, hey, this kid's good enough to play college baseball was not very much. And ironically, it was our last game of our senior year playing Coldwater. And at Versailles, It's for the MAC championship. They've got one loss. We're undefeated. And we have a tournament game the next day. So Josh is pitching the tournament game. So I get to pitch basically what turns out to be the MAC championship game. And Chad Wells, who's the athletic director at New Bremen now, was one of the assistant coaches at Coldwater.
Was he at Marion Local too for a little bit? Was Coach Wells?
Yes.
He was, because he did with Corey Lupke for a season.
And he's been Fort Laramie, and he's been now New Bremen. And he knew the pitching coach at Dayton and called him up and said, hey, there's a kid that just pitched against us. I was already going to school there as just a regular student, was going to walk on. That was my plan. And he said, you might as well just put him on the team. So without them ever seeing me pitch, they gave me a preferred walk-on spot at Dayton. And that is how the journey started.
It's ironic. It's so ironic because we had a guy on last week, okay? And for those that are listening, this is the Stephen Albanese episode. He's a photographer. He said something extreme. Like, I don't understand how time and space and gravity work, and like the opportunity that you just had that blossom and where it comes from. But he said something very similar. He's like, my buddy bailed on a show. I went to the show anyway. I had these prints that I decided to bring. I ran into the band. They liked the prints and asked if I wanted to shoot the show that day. Luckily, I brought my camera.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, there's a lot of things that have to go right before you get this opportunity to go tour with a band professionally. That's the same thing. Do you ever look back and reminisce and go, holy shit, like I was really lucky?
Oh, I mean, there's so many layers to this story that, I tried to tell it in 30 seconds, but, I remember 2 weeks prior to that, my mom was on me about, where are you going to go to college? What are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm holding out for that college scholarship. My backup plan's working at North Star Hardware and Implement. I don't need a degree for that. I can just go do that. And so she said, well, we're going to do what we do every time. We're going to sit down and say a prayer and have, hopefully God sends you direction of what you should do with your life and, what's your next step. And then that happened 2 weeks later. And then our season ends. I go play a college Legion baseball or a summer Legion baseball game at Dayton. First time the Dayton coaches get to watch me pitch. And University of Michigan's there, Bowling Green, Tiffin. So like really the first time colleges have seen me pitch. And turns out to me, my college coach, Tony Vittorio, tells my dad, don't let Craig answer the phone tonight. Saying that other colleges are going to call and I don't want to lose you. So the next day I show up to the field. Before I can get out of the door, he hands me a piece of paper and said, here's your national letter of intent. We need you to sign this before you sign with somebody else. Yeah. And we've got scholarship money for you, which we told you we didn't have before, but now we do.
Isn't it funny how that works?
Yeah. You're getting $2,000 to go to the University of Dayton. So that was my freshman year scholarship, was $2,000. But at that moment, he said, I think you have the opportunity to get drafted out of this university in 3 years. And that was the first time somebody had ever said, you have a chance to play professional baseball. Nobody had even said you have a chance to play college baseball until, 2 weeks prior.
So a month before that, you were possibly going to be working at North Star Hardware. And a month
before
later,
that, I'm walking on to UD, and like, if I don't make the team, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm playing club baseball or beer league softball.
Yeah.
You're the best guy in the softball. They're like, that guy could have been something.
Why didn't you play for the college team?
Yeah, exactly.
You've always seen those guys at intramurals and stuff like that they stand above everybody. You're like, you should be playing for the football team or the baseball team. And it's like, yeah, I tried. I didn't make it. I'm sorry. I'm not good enough.
It makes me realize, and I think this is something pertinent for people at home, like there's levels to this shit. That's kind of like the saying that I like to say, like when someone's like, mine in a creative capacity. I can't relate in baseball, but as far as marketing and stuff, like that's my bread and butter. I always tell people that are like mediocre, and then there's good, and then there's great, and then there's like elite, where you're just like, this is on a whole different level. Stuff like that. Like you there's always a bigger fish. Right, you're like, man, I can, you're like, I can go smack him around. Like, Bill, I can go hit him out of the park. And then you go walk by the guy at the league who's just pelting them. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. So going back to the draft question, obviously we know you got drafted. Was there anybody that you wanted to get drafted by? Or was it just, hey, I'll go to anybody? Or was there anybody you didn't want to get picked by? Because I'm a homer for the Reds, right?
Yeah.
So
With the first pick, the hardware store in North Star.
The last team in my head I would have wanted to get picked by was probably the Cubs. Like, I hate the Cubs. But when you're in that seat, I'm sure you're like, anybody pick me.
Yeah, anybody. Obviously, I grew up a huge Reds fan. The Reds would have been a dream come true at that point. Would it have been too much pressure then? I don't know. But the Washington Nationals ended up drafting me, and that was actually the first year of them existing. They were the Montreal Expos and moved to Washington, D.C., became the Washington Nationals. And I got a lot of questions. Who'd you get drafted by? Is that a minor league team?
Yeah.
Things like that. But another great story about getting drafted by the Washington Nationals. It's after my junior season of baseball. So in case I didn't get drafted, I was going to go play for the Grand Lake Mariners that summer. It was our first game was the day of the draft. So I'm at the game. I'm shagging. I got this old Nokia phone. I asked Coach Stafford, hey, can I have my phone in case I get drafted, in my back pocket during BP? And sure enough, I get drafted during batting practice and get the call from the Nationals and, your mind's going everywhere. I stay for the game. And my grandpa, who lived in Greenville, went to Greenville Walmart looking for a Washington Nationals hat.
That's great.
And found 15 of them.
Wow.
Yes, Greenville Walmart stashed with Washington.
How does
National.
that even happen? I've gone
How
to
does that
Walmart.
happen?
Yeah, I don't know because this gets the spooky prayer
Yeah,
thing going on.
so they all show up to the game. I'm not playing, but they show up anyway, and they all got their hats
That's
on.
incredible.
And I'm like, where do you get these hats?
Shout out Grandpa. Because
So,
think
yeah.
about that. I mean, if you would have went to that store and said, hey, there's 30 MLB teams, they probably had 6. Reds, Cubs, Indians, probably Yankees.
Why would you have the expansion
But
team?
why exactly? Because you go from the
Exactly.
Expos who just got kicked out of the league to go to Washington because they couldn't get any fans, and all of a sudden everybody's going to be a Nationals fan.
It's a
Yeah, exactly.
God's
so
got-
there's
God's got 'em playing for everybody.
Man, there's a lot of little stories it's crazy. You'll keep bringing them up as you go, and I'll think of them, and we'll keep telling them.
I mean, do you reminisce in the moment? Has this been a homogenation of has this been a culmination of noticing the little moments, or did you notice the little moments while you were going?
I don't think you notice them. You're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But I think looking back on them and reminiscing on them as my career was going, reminiscing on all those events that happened, one gives you a little bit of confidence that hey, somebody else is in control of this. It could be going bad right now, but it could turn and go really good really fast. So just remembering those moments, remembering how they happened, why they happened, how could they have happened, gives you a little bit of all right, somebody's got my back. Can I trust that? Yeah, I can trust that. Can I play with freedom now because of that? Yes, I can.
So let me ask you this, just to have a follow-up question. Because we always like to give sort of listeners a look inside and under the the hood here. Do you think zooming out is important in the process of any journey you're going through? Zoom out and not only appreciate what you're currently going through, living in the now, but noticing. What I'm saying is in noticing those little
Yeah, I know what you mean.
peeks under the curtain, did it help? It helped you make the next decision. It helped you be more comfortable with the unknown.
For sure.
So talk to me about that real quick.
For me, for sure. I think it's important to remember, especially when I think about it in my faith and thinking about how God has been loyal to me in so many ways, without even me deserving it, and probably acting like a dumbass a lot of times for a better term.
Sure.
But I can go back on those moments and be like, why did that happen? Well, it's because he willed it to happen that way. And maybe he has a purpose for this. What's the purpose? I don't know, but I'm going to keep living it out to find that purpose and to find, that identity of why I'm here on this earth. Is my identity being a baseball player? Probably not, but is that the avenue to find my identity? And so I think looking back and always, seeing how things have happened and being like, yeah, that's pretty crazy that happened, as we've done already on a couple of things, I think is very important.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. We jokingly said, Mitch started a food truck prior to this year by himself with another partner. Things didn't go well. I jokingly shot him a DM on Instagram and just said, hey, love what you're doing. If I can help in any capacity, let me know. And then year and a half forward, we got a food truck together, got a podcast. We've been going for 28 episodes now. So just funny how things work because, he was lost a little bit, I was lost a little bit, and we're polar opposites, which is kind of why it works so well together.
It's so much fun, though.
It's a good marriage you guys have.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's so...
That's the joke about the two dads often, too. They're like, two dads? Like, no.
we say
I didn't even think of that.
we say it's two dads, but not like that.
Yeah. Put that on a shirt. Two dads, but not like that.
But I will say, just to just to compliment that. Like one of the things that I'm getting better at as I continue to appreciate not just being in front of a fryer, because when you're in front of the fryer, I say it's hard to zoom out. When you're really in the thick of what you're doing in your craft and you're just trying to get to the next at bat, you know what I mean? Maybe the opposite, next pitch for you. Mm-hmm. It's hard to appreciate in the moment, but it's funny when we get these podcasts. It's almost cathartic to me. It's almost catharsis because I sit here and we have these conversations. It's almost like holy crap, dude. You know, Bill's been shooting us stats about how much the truck has grown year over year. It's grown even more immensely than last year. We have a lot more people listening. Shoot, we even had a great FaceTime the other day appreciating how much people listen to this podcast and how much it means to them in the area and that they have some kind of like, you know, right now it's WCSM or Facebook, and there's no disrespect to either, but like there is no middle ground. And so, you know, it's I don't know what we're doing either.
Yeah.
But we're sort of, both of us have agreed in the good partnership. It's not just the yin and yang. It's not just the polar opposites. Yeah, I mean, those are great intangibles, but I would say, to Bill's point, like I really think that we're just letting this thing wield us, and it's going so well because it was supposed to go well.
Yeah. I mean, when you're living out your natural identity, things are going to kind of work out the right way because, one, you're excited about it because it's who you are. You're excited about it because it's who you are. You know, I was excited about it because it's who I am. And then you just keep living that out the best way, trying to impact others the best that you can. And then sooner or later, things kind of work out well for you.
Have you ever gone through a spot where you weren't your best identity? Like, I mean, this road is a lot easier to say in hindsight, right? It's a lot. We talk about, you know, how happy we are now. I've been through divorce. I've been through challenges moving home. I have to drive a long ways to get my kids and see my kids, and it's a challenge to miss dates. It's a challenge in the food truck for Bill to miss Riker things. I mean, we talk about that all the time. Talk to me about the less glamorous side, because that's what we're really curious about digging into. Yeah, to be honest with you, great. I'm so happy that you made Major League. I'm so happy you made a good living. I'm so glad that's your career, but that doesn't that's not your identity. You've said it twice now.
Yeah.
Have you run into any challenges as a Major League Baseball player that you would consider detrimental, or a test maybe in your case of your faith, like power, ego, any of those that you've run into?
Yeah, every day you have a choice to, like, I'm going to grab a hold of this and squeeze it as tight as I can, squeeze that Major League Baseball jersey as tight as I can, and never let it go. And sooner or later, someone's going to slowly pull it out of your hand, and you got to be okay with it. And you don't know when it's going to happen. And like throughout my career, you know, I was a 25-year-old in the major league. So yeah, imagine, you know, everything that's at your hands when you go to Chicago, Wrigley Field, and you walk outside the stadium and you're in Wrigleyville and you're one of the ball players, you know, that type of stuff. So you're constantly battling the world and what it wants you to be. And then for me, I felt like I was battling who I grew up to be in North Star, Ohio, who I was raised to be. Can I still be that same person, you know, while being a Major League Baseball player? Can I have the same faith? Can I have the same family values? Can I have the same morals? And can I live them out while, you know, being tempted, you know, to the nth degree and all the other stuff? And did I fall to that temptation a bunch of times? Probably, yeah. You know, I think almost everybody does. Mm-hmm. And am I able to bounce back from that and turn it around and put my head back on straight and get in the right direction? Yes.
Just a quick follow-up question. How did you bounce back from all those things? Was it good family that you had to lean on? Was it faith? Like, how did you bounce back from the temptations and stuff? Even when you seceded and you gave yourself a little grace, like, how'd you bounce back?
Other people that had shared values, morals, thought processes, faith. You need other people. You try to do it alone. You try to bounce back by yourself. You're done. You know, you need a guy.
I gave Bill a fist bump there.
You need two dads. You know?
There you go. Put that on a shirt.
Yeah. So, you know, tons of people impacted my life that I played with: teammates, coaches, chaplains, priests, family members. You know, if I don't have that group of people around me, surrounding me, you know, you're left to your own devices.
Surround yourself with good people. I always say that my peer group gets smaller and smaller the more wisdom I gain. You can't take everybody with you, and if they're not lifting you up, they're certainly not worth your time. I know it's a harsh sentence, and it sounds harsh because you come from a tight-knit community where everyone's supposed to be friends and family and stuff, but the real answer is the one thing I've seen between these is You can't if they're not lifting you up, then you're gonna fall to their standards. So, and if you look at your peer group and you realize you're leading right now, and none of your friends are lifting you up, that's something you need to assess as you continue on. This ad break is sponsored by the American Cornhole Association. It's fall, fellas. The grill's smoking, the beer's ice cold, and the game's on deck. And if you're not tossing bags before kickoff, are you even tailgating? The American Cornhole Association's Game Day collection is built for dads who know that pregame is half the fun. We're talking pro-grade boards and bags wrapped in bold, premium designs, perfect for the driveway, the tailgate lot, or that buddy's house with the big screen on the back patio. Cleveland fan? Cincinnati fan? Just love the sound of pads cracking and friends hollering? They've got your setup. Dual-sided synergy bags, double-braced boards, all regulation, all durable, all made right here in the USA. So head over to playcornhole.org and use code 2dads at checkout for up to 15% off your entire order. That's playcornhole.org using code 2dads at checkout for up to 15% off your entire order. It's fall, it's football, it's the ACA. You know it. American-made, dad approved.
All right, so you talk about, having good mentors back here, the priests, family, stuff like that. You were up for the Roberto Clemente Award, and I forget the year, maybe 2020, for being a good mentor to, and a good activist in the community. It all kind of ties together that. Do you have any pros or, players or coaches there that you look back that really helped you keep your mind right? I know that's a coach's job, but I think when you were on your back end of your career, you're like, hey, I'm learning to do this for the young guys because everybody needs a locker room guy, right?
Yeah.
Corky Miller's been around for a reason. That guy's got to be a locker room guy.
Friedel. I think Friedel's a locker room guy.
Friedel's a good one. But, did you have anybody out there that really helped you and put you back on the path of success to allow you to kind of do that for somebody later in your career?
Yeah. We had this group in Washington that met every week for Bible study, and it was a pretty powerful group. It was led by Adam LaRoche. Adam LaRoche was probably, the guy I looked up to the most that I played with. But the group consisted of Ian Desmond, Denard Spann, and Anthony Rendon, Aaron Barrett, Blake Trinan, myself. And it was a pretty tight-knit group and a pretty consistent group. And, we could rely on each other for anything. We could talk about anything. We could challenge each other, on anything. And we wanted each other to be the best men that we could be, men in baseball and men outside of baseball. And so, that's kind of where it started, was that group, kind of led by every team has a team chaplain. That year was Tim Pearson was our team's chaplain in Washington. He was awesome and got our group together. So we loved him so much, and he did so much for us that we bought him a motorcycle.
Nice.
When we all kind of parted our ways. We were kind of all together for about 3 years.
Wow.
And then, which is ironic, and then we all kind of went to different teams. Adam went to Chicago. I went to San Diego. Ian went to Colorado, Texas, then Colorado. Anthony he stayed with Washington, won a World Series. He got to win the World Series, and then went to Anaheim. But, we all kind of dispersed. And, talking with those guys again, when we get back together, when we group chat or whatever, we've taken what we did there and we try to do it in other places.
My favorite thing, you mentioned Adam LaRoche, and I forget the exact story of it, but I remember seeing it online and hearing it on ESPN. There was an episode one time where he wasn't allowed to take his son out onto the field or something like that.
Yeah, so Adam had a son named Drake. Drake was 13, 14 years old when I was playing with him. Drake had a uniform in a locker. He was like the 26th man on the team. Now there's 27th man, but then we had 25-man rosters, so he was the 26th man, we called him. He would get dressed in uniform every day, play catch with his dad, watch BP, shag, shine shoes, pick up towels. It was like the most well-behaved 13, 14-year-old boy, in a major league locker room that you could, ever imagine. And I actually don't think he went to school. I think his school was going to the locker room.
So they did in the Dominican.
Yeah,
baseball school.
Yes, exactly. So Adam signs with Chicago. When he was in free agency, he told teams, he said, if my son's not allowed to come with me to the ballpark, I don't want to sign here. Chicago signs him, signs off on his son being able to go to the ballpark. Adam has the worst year of his career, the first year there, and they owe him like $13 million the next season. Well, they show up to spring training, and the GM says, sorry, Drake's not allowed to be in the clubhouse anymore. And, Adam's, obviously a family man and stands for certain principles. And he decided, I'm retiring then. If my son can't come, I don't need to play. and you can save your $13 million, and I don't need to deal with it.
I'm glad you knew that. You knew it obviously way better than I did, but I remember reading that, and it was just, Adam LaRoche is kind of a journeyman, right? I mean, he had a good career, but it was just like, I remember hearing that story, and it was like, that guy took his principles over money, and you're looking at $13 million. I didn't know it was that much. You're staring $13 million in the face. You're like, no, the time with my son is way too pivotal to that, which just kind of shows like the moral high ground of what he is, which kind of leads me to your next one. I saw we played against each other this year. Well, our sons did. Are you upset you never got the chance to have that with like Chase and your younger ones, to be out there on the field shagging fly balls? And I'm sure it's like a catch-22 because, well, now you get all your time at home with your kids. So you're not on the road missing your kid's childhood necessarily. But I'm like, when I play catch with Riker out here, I'm like, I couldn't imagine being able to go out there, even if it was just one more game, just go out there and play catch with Chase.
I'm lucky that I still work for the Padres, and they allow me to bring Chase with me sometimes to the field. So, he's a lucky 7-year-old right now, getting to do that. And I'm a lucky dad being able to do that too. I think it worked out perfectly for me. It would have been great to have kids with me playing. But my kids were all young enough, and I retired the first year that Chase had to go to school. So I never really had to be away from them outside of, the 7 days or the 10 days we were on the road during the season. They were always with me in San Diego, 99% of the time. Yeah. He grew up, he was 8 days old and went to opening day. So he was born in spring training, 8 days old. He's at opening day, and he's pretty much been at the ballpark his whole life. Maybe not on the field all the time, but he doesn't know any better.
Let me ask you a question from dad to dad. How do you obviously I can tell that blue collar work still flows through your veins. I know that you've worked a sort of not white collar job, but I mean, it's classified professional sports. It's going to get that category regardless. How do you keep your kids from being like Nepo babies? Like, you're born into money. I mean, let's call it spade a spade. They're born into a more privileged position. I don't mean that like they're not going to work hard or that they have.
Oh yeah, you're right.
What morals could you recommend just for parents in general? Like, what do you do to just make sure that they have the same opportunity cost and understanding that you did?
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge, and I think it's been a challenge, as we are raising them right now. And I think it's actually easier doing it here because I can make them do yard work. I can, hey, put your dishes away, fix your bed. Like those little things I think matter. I grew up, I wouldn't say it was like a super hard, growing up. It wasn't like nose to the grindstone every day, but my dad was a, small business owner, owned North Star Hardware and Implement. And when I was 14 years old, I was sweeping the floors and working on the grain bin crew through high school and through college. And I didn't know any better. That was just what you did. And hopefully, my son will be able to do something similar to that, have a summer job, work hard, realize that when you do something, you get paid for it. And it's fun to get paid a little bit for doing hard work. And then maybe that transfers the rest of their life. I mean, is he gonna have baseball cleats every time he goes on the baseball field? Yeah, probably.
Right, yeah.
That kind of stuff. Or there's certain things that like he's just gonna, be able to do that, other 7-year-olds aren't able to do. He's allowed to go on Great American Ballpark when I go there. So he can have those perks, but I think you can also teach him toughness, mental toughness, and resolve and hard work and resilience and stuff like that.
Well, speaking of that, I want to get back to baseball, just back on the field, because where we left it, you've just made the majors. You obviously have a very strong connection to, the other players that are around you. You talked about the separation to go implement that to different, places and different ballparks and maybe players who need it. But talk to me about making your debut, because you were drafted in the 12th round. You were not exactly the hottest prospect in the world, even though your Nokia phone sitting back, during BP. What a hot shot, right? Okay, I can see why this guy beat the bricks off of St. Rose. But take me back. What did it take to fight to get to your debut in 2009? Like, what was that journey like? I mean, you went from being probably the hottest player in town, in the county, maybe somewhat in the state. At UD, you were pretty high in strikeouts. Did you leave the strikeout leader?
Yeah.
So you were coming off hot, but 12th round and exactly first round stuff. So what was that like? Was it a shot to the ego? And what did you have to do to maybe rebound to get to that debut in 2009?
Yeah. A lot of times people say, I wish I would have known then what I know now. I'm kind of glad I didn't know then. I thought the 12th round might as well have been the first round for me. I was fired up. I was excited that I was getting a chance to play professional baseball. And, so many guys' journeys to the major leagues are different. There's so much luck involved too, or favor, whatever you want to call it. Being drafted by the Washington Nationals in the 12th round was a stroke of luck that I needed, probably as a 12th rounder. I got much more, respect, play, opportunity because the Nationals were in such a bad financial state. They had no pitching prospects. I was a 12th round draft pick, and I was already, usually 12th rounders are just, you're in the bullpen, we'll pitch you when you want to pitch it. And I was a starter the first year in the minor leagues. I was given an opportunity, and then was the opening day starter the next year in the minor leagues. So, and it wasn't because I was so great, but I was good enough that they gave me the opportunity. And there was just a chance of opportunity with that organization at that time for me to develop, get to pitch a lot, and eventually, make my way slowly but surely to the big leagues.
MLB debut. Who was it against, and how did you do?
Yeah, May 21st against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And here's another, you guys will shake your head at this.
Andrew McCutcheon.
He wasn't on the team yet. He was still in Indianapolis. I had faced them. That was the last time my last AAA start was against Indianapolis.
Okay.
Faced him. And so I get called up May 21st, Nats Park against the Pittsburgh Pirates. There's like 12,000 fans in the stands. Two of the worst teams in baseball.
Was it still RFK?
No, it's Nats Park.
Okay.
Second year of Nats Park. There was like 70 tickets I left for the game. It was a dream come true. And we're facing the Pittsburgh Pirates, as I said. I go 4 perfect out of the gate. 12 up, 12 down.
Wow.
I'm like, hey, this isn't too bad.
I can do this.
Guy
Feels like I'm playing St. Rose again.
Yeah, exactly. I've done this before in Mercer
Monty
County.
Imwali is pissed. I can already give a shout out. Monty Imwali is fuming.
So 5th inning comes up. First batter of the 5th inning is Adam LaRoche. He gets the first hit off me in my major league career. A weak double. I mean, it was like 75 exit velocity, but he gets a double. And the next guy hits a ground ball to second. He moves to third, sac fly, score a run. But we're winning like 3-1. So I've got the game's kind of in control. And I go 5th inning, out of the 5th inning, perfect in the 6th, go out for the 7th. We're winning 3-1. I'm cruising like 65 pitches in 6 innings.
Damn.
So they're leaving me in there. Get the first guy out. Next guy, I walk. Only walk of the game. Next guy up is Adam LaRoche. Adam LaRoche takes me into the second deck. Okay. So game's tied. Next batter, single at the middle. Next batter, double in the gap. Now I'm losing 4-3, and I'm out of the game. We ended up coming back and winning the game. Adam Dunn, former Red, ends up getting the game-winning hit, which ironically was my grandpa's least favorite Reds player.
Because he strikes out too much.
Yes.
Big donkey.
Only hits his home runs when we're losing 8-1, that kind of thing.
Which stick did he hit it with? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. So he gets the game-winning hit. We win the game. So it was a successful, major league debut. I went 6 1/3, 4 runs, couple strikeouts, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. But Adam LaRoche, introduced me to Major League Baseball.
Yeah, welcome to the big leagues,
Yeah,
Rogue.
welcome to the big leagues.
And Adam's such a good guy, but he's got severe ADHD. And when we played together and I mentioned that to him, he's like, "Oh, really? I faced you?"
That's terrible.
That's literally
I have that. They come to the food truck and they'll be like, "Dude, like that was so nice yesterday." And I'd be like, "We talked?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, I remember the story." I'm like, "Oh yeah, now I remember."
My favorite was last week. We had, or 2 weeks ago, we had the fair, Mercer County Fair, and I make this spreadsheet that's, on the business side of things. I make this spreadsheet. I even color coordinate it for some of our friends here.
Colorblind though, colorblind.
That's fine. It's still highlighted every different color.
So true.
And I sent it to everybody in the group chat. Here's the days you're working. Here's the shifts you're working. Blah blah blah. Mitch works some hours. I work some hours. And there was 2 text messages in between it, between our buddy Rob, who works with us as well. And Mitch is like, "What days do I work this week?" I'm like, dude, just scroll up 2 text messages. It's right there.
Oh, man.
I have a question about failure, though, because we talk about failure on here as the fear of failure. You just talked about Adam coming up there. Baseball's a sport of failure, whether it's an ERA, a blown save, a no decision in your case, because you're not going to take home that one. How do you process failure when it's so public? Like, how do you not let that define you? Does that go back to that group of guys you were with? But that's a heavy task when you fail in front. I don't care if it's 17,000 or 54,000. Playing in New York. I mean, like, how do you not let that kind of hurt you for the next start?
Yeah, it's tough, and most people that have played professional baseball will say the game is way less physical and way more mental between your ears, and that was something that I felt like kept me in the game. Is I was pretty strong, being able to handle, probably because I failed a lot, being able to bounce back. But one of my failure is never final. There's always a chance to go back out there again. That's the beauty of baseball. I was a pretty competitive kid growing up, just was a competitive person. Competitive, not in the way of like I always won, but competitive in like if you beat me, I just wanted to keep playing you until I figured it out, type of thing. I would always play, hey, one more game, no matter the outcome. I just wanted to keep playing. And so I think that mentality helped me in the big leagues. Like when things didn't go well, I was like, get me back out there. I want to play again. That was fun. Even though I stunk, that was still fun. I want to do that again.
Even amid like a potential, like this could be my last game ever. Is that...
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think like, that's fun to take reps when you're talking about, pick up ball in the front yard against your older cousin or a brother or sister or your dad, right? Your career's in the balance. I mean, you keep putting up 5 and 6 ERAs, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's 7 across 4. I can't do the math there. It's okay. I mean, you're in the 4s.
Yeah. It can get, if you let it be bigger than what it is, it can swallow you. If you keep it, hey, this is North Star versus St. Rose, and I'm going to dominate. You can keep it where you want it to be, and you can remember like that's the same baseball then as it is now. I'm just playing it with better players.
So what does that look like going from a starter to the bullpen? Most of your career you were in the bullpen, obviously. You started off as a starter, and I think it was a couple years, and then you got, moved to the bullpen. What does that change your mindset? You go in your whole life of being a starter and you're doing this and you're doing this, and now I want to ask you, hey, I need you to regroup and go off cold for 7 innings and then come in and pitch the highest leverage situation.
Yeah, well, it goes back to failure. I was a failed starter, so I either had to figure it out of the bullpen or it wasn't going to work. But I was lucky that in college, my first 2 years, I was basically a closer. So I pitched out of the bullpen a little bit in college, and through the minor leagues up and downs, I got thrown in the bullpen a couple times too. So I had experience with it, and then my mentality, that competitive mentality that I talked about, being a reliever fit me probably a little bit better because I could show up to the field every day ready to play. Rather than a starter, you had the 4 days off in between and you're preparing for that one game. I loved the opportunity of showing up every day and preparing myself to like, can I figure out how to pitch 162 games? Unrealistic, but like, can I be that guy that could pitch every game? Yeah. And so that was a challenge that I liked, that competitiveness. It brought out that competitive fire in me. And so the move to the bullpen, while do I wish I could have kept being a starter, I would have loved that, but the bullpen was a good home for me.
I couldn't imagine going out there. And I'm just thinking immediately I thought of Bronson Arroyo for some reason, who just got shelled every other start, like towards the back end of his career, right? He would go out and pitch 6 innings, 1 run, and then he'd give 13 in 3 innings. And it just feel like, imagine doing that and then having to wait 4 more days to go back and get back. Like you say, you're a bullpen guy. You may only pitch 2/3 of an inning, give up a walk-off home run, but they're going to call you the next day, and you got to be mentally ready to go. So I can really imagine what that looks like. Obviously, being the pros, the MLB, everything probably is fun and glamorous. The tee times at Oakmont and everything else like that. What's the downside? I mean, I know your family was around, so that might not be the downside everybody would assume. But like, what's the not so glamorous side of being in the pros? And even if it's just the minor leagues, taking the buses and eating average food at best, probably. What's that look like for the negatives?
Yeah, the minor leagues was tough when I was playing because you didn't get paid. I think the first year I was getting paid $850 a month before taxes. So it was, you weren't getting paid much, and you're living with host families and stuff like that. So you guys that didn't have signing bonuses were trying to make ends meet, and some of them were married, and I got to support my wife, and this isn't supporting my wife, that kind of stuff. So the minor leagues is a little less glamorous. I'm not going to say anything bad about the major leagues. That's a good life to live. The only downfall, probably is you're missing weddings, you're missing birthdays, you're not able to go to the Memorial Day party or the 4th of July fireworks. You're playing a game during all that kind of stuff, which isn't so bad either.
Right.
But you miss out on that stuff. And, I missed out on a brother-in-law's wedding, stuff like that, where you wish you were with family, but you aren't able to be there. You're not allowed to take that day off. That's the only downfall. But
how do you do it day
not
after
that bad.
day, though? Like, my question is, these are long seasons. You know what I mean? And it's, for me, it's easy to hear, like, yeah, it's a glamorous lifestyle. Staying in hotels and suites is nice, but a certain day you crave your own bed, you crave your own shower, you crave your own toilet, you crave your own routine. You're traveling so much. I want to bring this back for listeners too, because we talk about this with local business owners, workers, dreamers, or even people who are sitting waiting for their own opportunity. Whether it's pitching or being called for that next at bat, or staying mentally ready while you're traveling from town to town in these different environments every week, how do you do it day after day? Is there a secret to it? Is there something that you can draw on in your personality that lets you say, like, you know what, I got up and did this every day, even though I got punched in the face? What was it that got you up every day and excited beyond competition?
I think it was remembering what my 10-year-old self would have thought of what I was doing that day, and constantly remembering that. And also, I had a very supportive family. They love sports. They love baseball. Probably the biggest joy I had playing Major League Baseball was my family getting to come to the games, and it turning into like family reunions in several cities throughout, the country. It just brought our family closer together. It allowed me to see them. They loved being a part of it. Being able to share that with other people was probably the coolest part of it.
It's interesting. You sound more like a giver than you are like self-conscious of your own. Like, you're competitive, but all of this competition stems, and everything you keep saying is like, I do this for me, kinda. I really do it because, like, look what all it brings to other people.
Well,
too.
I think when you get into it, you don't realize it's going to impact so many people. You don't realize that other people are going to be a part of it.
Were you naive to that?
Maybe a little bit, I think. Probably naive to that. And don't get me wrong, like, I was dialed in discipline-wise on preparing for the game and being ready and stuff like that. There was a lot of sacrifice if you're, getting ready for a Major League Baseball game. I think most people would do that, but not everybody does. Not everybody stays dialed in, throughout the season. And I think that's where, like, I had a brain that allowed me to be able to do that. Thank God that, I could focus in a way that allowed me to be at my best every single day.
Did you have a routine? Did you meditate? Did you work out? Like, how did you get to that core, or is it just who you are?
Yeah, I'm a focus driven person, like, things structured. I like structure. And if I structured my day, structured,
Same.
my workouts, structured my week, then I just followed the plan. And, people are like, what did you do different? Well, I did what the coaches told me to do.
Every single day,
Yeah.
day over day over day.
Hey, you got to do 10 reps of that. Okay, so I did 10. I didn't do 11. I didn't do 9. I did 10. So
I have a
that
really
was
good
just
point to
how
add
I
to that,
did it.
though. I have a really good point to add to that. And the one thing I want to say is, one of my mentors, who's made even more money than all of us in this room combined. Okay, he's with a billionaire with a B. Okay, but one thing he said is, there are people that give advice, and then there are people that actually listen to that advice. And it's one of the compliments he gives me. I mean, whether it's Bill, whether it's something that you might give me as a blossoming here that I'll take away, whether it's advice that I get from a mentor, the food truck is the way it is because of advice from other people. Like, it's not, were you a cook before this, Mitch? Nope. Were you like chicken fingers? Yeah, pretty much. You know what I mean? It's like, but I wouldn't be able to understand all the intrinsics of business if it weren't for the operations guys like Bill that go, hey man, you shouldn't do that. And there is like another side of it that's like, okay, well then I won't do that. That sounds like you have more experience with that. So that's kind of what you're saying, Bill.
Yeah, my favorite one to go back to is the ketchup debate this offseason. We went rounds and rounds over that. Last year, we'd give little packets of like ketchup, like the squeezables.
Yeah.
And then once I realized how much one of those squeezables was and how many we give away, and I'm just like, Mitch, this is a bad idea. I can get a 64-ounce bottle of ketchup for like same packet of like 10 packets.
Yeah.
And he's just like, everybody loves ketchup. I'm like, I hate ketchup. Like, I'll eat it, but it was just funny how that goes.
And I'll say one other point to this. This area of the country that we live in, we've been blessed with people that like hard work, that like showing up every day and doing the work. And I saw that from my dad every single day of showing up at 7:30 in the morning and going to work and doing it as the best he could, and then coming home at 5 and then being a great dad. And it was just like, well, that's just what you do. So when it was my turn to do the work, well, that's how you do the work. You didn't know any other way. And so that carried that hard work from Mercer County, Darke County, carried on to my career.
I think it goes back to what we had Coach Tim Goodwin on probably 4 or 5 episodes ago. He said the same thing, right? Like, I mean, he came in and he helped build a program with their people before him, but all the families and dads that, instill that work ethic in these people, especially, in this area especially, makes it very easy to be successful because they just know that, like, hard work is hard work because that's what all our dads do.
Right.
And you take it for granted, maybe you go to bigger cities and you've probably seen it, and, the other upbringing is a total different ball game.
And I think we take it for granted around here because it's just the way it is. But I think it's an attribute that we should be thankful for, that we've been passed down by the first people that came over here, and we just kind of kept it going.
It's kind of a weird thing to think about. I think about my parents and then my grandparents, but you're right. That's systemic in a good way. Like, that's systemic from
you can pass down good stuff and bad stuff. That was the good stuff. We should be thankful for that.
Yeah.
The good news about the podcast is we try not to ignore the bad stuff either.
We know it's not all good.
But that's a good point. In 2022, Bill had brought it up. You were a nominee for the Roberto Clemente Award, which is about impact off the field. Was giving back something that you lean into during your career? Did that happen more when you came home, now that you could make it, you're a big fish in a small pond? Like, when did the giving aspect of your life start to unlock?
I think that, like, it's part of your faith. It's part of what, Jesus asked us to do, is to care about other people. And being part of major league organizations, they provide you with opportunities. Hey, there's a community service event. Be there at 9:00 tomorrow morning. And you can either say, no, I don't want to do it, or you can show up. And similar to taking coach's advice, I did what they said. I just showed up, and then you show up enough and you're like, oh, I kind of like doing this. I'm going to do more of that. All right, what's one way I can figure out a way to, like, do that on my own, or like create something where I'm doing that and the organization's helping me doing that. And then as I got older in my career, those opportunities continued to come. When you see them in front of your face, like, you take it and you run with it. And so, I'm very proud of that nomination, the Roberto Clemente, probably the greatest award that I ever got, in my baseball career, in my life. Represents someone who was not only great on the field, but off the field also. And it's fitting that it was in the last year of my career, the last full season that I played. And so it was a culmination of, a lot of stuff I did throughout my career of just kind of showing up and doing the community service stuff and being in the right place at the right time.
When did you learn it was about time and not money? Because I feel like the Roberto Clemente Award is not just, you didn't stroke a check you don't get nominated for this if you're just stroking checks and saying, hey, really cool hospital, hey, really cool, public service opportunity, blah, 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 food kitchen, whatever. When did you realize that it's about how much time you're giving and the value of that versus just the
I think there's value in both.
Sure, of course.
Obviously, being a Major League Baseball player, you're paid way more than you should be paid. And you're blessed with that. You can use that to your advantage to help other people. So, like, the money to give to certain, whoever you choose is important, I think. But also time is a part of that too. Time, talent, treasure. So, the time that you give, you can always give people time. The talent that you have, well, I know I can't really do anything about a food truck, but I can teach you how to throw a curveball. So, can I do a baseball camp in my hometown? Yeah, I can do that. That's time. And then treasure, I have a few bucks I can give, to people that need it.
So it's a balance.
Yeah, it is a balance. I think it all goes together. There's ways to impact people with all three: time, talent, and treasure.
So you talk about, giving and how you can help people. And then you started, I don't know if you were the one or probably a bunch of you and some buddies started the Craig Stammen Classic, which I think is really cool, local area Little League tournament. So how did that all come about, and what was the goal and motive behind that?
Yeah, it was, a bunch of the dads that ran the Versailles Youth Baseball Tournament came to me, and I think it was 2016, and said, hey, we'd like to name the tournament after you.
Okay.
And call it the Craig Stammen Classic if you would be okay with that. And I said, yeah, that'd be amazing. That would be, what a awesome legacy to have a youth baseball tournament, something that gave me so much joy in the Marion Little League, bringing those teams together to play a tournament named after you. So it's a pretty honor, big honor. And I'm shocked by it still. I just got to pinch myself. This year when I was out at the tournament, my next door neighbor growing up, Amy Bateman, had a son in the tournament for Fort Recovery. And she goes, we show up to this tournament. I just can't believe that your name is everywhere. And I go, you're right. It's weird, isn't it? and it's shocking. And there's so many times in my life where I have to pinch myself and I'm like, did that really happen? Did I play in the major leagues? And it's quite an honor to have that on my shoulders. Quite an honor to have a baseball tournament in my name. And hopefully we can keep it going and keep it creating memories, lasting memories for these kids. Every year where they can remember the Craig Stammen Classic when Coldwater beat Versailles. Well, I mean, Versailles beat Coldwater.
No, he said it first.
He said it first. That's a Freudian slip. I'm
Counts.
sorry.
Well, I was trying to since we beat you this year, I didn't want to
It's really nice of him. He's
Pile
such a humanitarian.
There
Listen,
we go. No, I joked with my father-in-law with that because he's like, "Is that the guy that played in the MLB?" And I said, "Yeah," because Riker was playing right beside you. He was playing pitcher, and Riker made like 3 errors at first base the inning before, and just right here, right. And I just told him same thing, short memory. I played baseball long enough. What's the most important play? And he's like, the next play. So he goes out to pitcher mound. Guy hits a line driver up the middle that he catches. And I told him see,
Yep.
you got to get out of your own way in some of that because if not, it just snowballs. And especially at 7U, right? It's not easy to. They might also not know better.
You're right.
They're just I'm just playing. I'm having fun. I don't care if I made 3 errors at first base.
It might be the best age group to coach, just because when they catch the ball, it's like they won the World Series. It's just the simple things bring them the smiles and the joy and the laughter. Him catching that line drive, made his day, made his night, made his week. Remember when I caught that line drive? That kind of stuff. So. Man, if we could just stay this age with our boys, that'd be amazing.
That'd be fun. That long throw from third base. Mitch hasn't seen it, but I was telling him the first tournament we had, I'm like, that long throw from third base to first base when someone fields it, and you're just like, is he going to catch it? And the first baseman just I got it. So it's all the other ones just go straight to the fence. So it's fun, but just to see him develop. And even the ones that, there's good, medium, and the ones that aren't as good, it's just the truth of it. To see those, the lesser ones grow is kind of more the fun. I'm just going to say Chase is going to be good. It's just in his blood. He's going to be better. You could see him at shortstop, right? But there's always a worse player on every team. And to see them make progressional growth was kind of the most fun because we had a couple and, by the end, it's hey, they're not striking out every bat. They're finally putting it in play. And and then they have fun because the worst case in youth sports is to run people out before age 14.
Right.
Right. You want them to go from 7 to 14. Riker didn't want to play soccer this year. I'm just play soccer. You have nothing to do in the fall. Go play soccer. He's I don't like it. I want to play football and baseball. I'm you'll get there. Go play soccer just to learn, be an athlete, and get out there. So it's fun to see those guys grow. And, obviously, I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun in high school, too, when you're able to go out to some of those games and then, enjoy a few beers afterwards with all the parents.
Retirement wasn't your choice, though. So talking about growth here, you've had a fun in the league. You're at your dance. You're doing your thing. And in 2023, you had a shoulder injury and you had to make the call. What was it like to face that moment? Because we're talking about all the highs. This probably was a little bit of a low in your life, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I think leading up to that year, you always, when you get a little older, you're thinking of when's this dream going to end? And you're trying to, like I said, you're squeezing onto it. And I had so many times where I was just squeezing onto that. And then I had one of my best friends actually was my first roommate in minor league baseball, was working for the Cincinnati Reds as a mental performance coach. And we're talking in the outfield. I'm telling him this. I'm like, man, I don't want it to end bad. I want it to end in a good way. I want to go out on top. Everybody wants to go out on top.
Peyton Manning out in the sunset.
And he goes, well, how do you think it's going to end? And I kind of told him the doomsday, how it's going to end. And he goes, why would you tell yourself that? Why don't you just tell yourself it's going to dream up the best ending? And I was like, that's a good idea. So that's what I started thinking of, for the last couple of years of my career. I was like, this is going to end in a really cool, dramatic way. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to pitch the last inning of the World Series and dogpile, and then I'm going to just retire right there on the spot. That didn't happen. But, that put me in a better mindset going, as it ended. But I thought that I could retire on my own without it ending the way it did, but I couldn't. The way it ended was how it was going to end. I was going to have to be incapable of throwing a baseball. And basically that's what happened. I threw a pitch in spring training and my shoulder felt like it went with the baseball. So, yeah, I basically subluxed my shoulder while throwing a baseball. And I remember going up in the training room, and the manager comes in and he goes, "What do you think?" And I said, "I think that's the last pitch I'm ever going to throw." And it turned out to be the last pitch I ever threw, which is sad, but it's not that sad. It was, the end of an awesome, incredible journey that I would have never dreamed up on my own, I don't think. So that was the end, is what it is.
But you work the worst possible scenario backwards. I've done therapy and stuff. Honestly, I've done therapy post-divorce, and oftentimes what you find in people is they think of the worst case scenario, and they never work through it. They just sit there and let it stew. In reality, what they'll tell you in certain cases is they'll say, go to that worst case scenario and then work it backwards. Yeah. Okay, so you go to spring training and the doomsday is you throw your arm out and you can't pitch. But then when you got there, you worked it already through and you wanted it to end this way, but you'd already thought the other way. And it's like, okay, but then I still had a good career.
Right, and so many guys leave baseball bitter. It ends in a way that they don't want it to end. And I got to end it completely satisfied. There was nothing else more. I mean, I could have won the World Series, but you're chasing something that's not within your control. It's within, the universe's control or whatever. So, is there anything left on the table? There was nothing left on the table. I was playing, with extra time for a long time. So, that perspective, having, like I said, having people in my corner that could just, hey, why don't you think of it this way? Hell, that makes a lot of sense. All right, I'm going to do that. And then go do it, and then it works out all right.
So you left Major League Baseball, but then you stepped into a new realm. You're a business. You obviously do some stuff with the Padres. We'll leave that out because that kind of lives with baseball. That's cool. I mean, it's a really cool advisory role. I think it probably leaves a breadth of opportunities, but you also own a business as well. Are you currently running businesses or anything outside of that?
I mean, I've invested in business. Okay, I'm not running anything myself.
So you're not running. Yeah. So there's no player to owner right now.
No.
What are you currently doing?
Well, most of the time takes up that advisory role with the Padres. So this last weekend, I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, watching our AA team, play 3 games against the Dodgers AA team. And just being there, an extra coach when I'm there, a mentor to some of the guys, someone that can relate to being in AA and scuffling and trying to, pitch my way out of it to get to AAA, to get to that, major leagues or whatever. So, another set of eyes, guys somebody with experience that can, hopefully help, the organization, churn out players, help win a World Series. And so a lot of traveling like that, here and there, but it's not all the time. And it's, keeps my foot in the game, but also makes me still feel like I'm retired and can be home with the family and not miss a 7U practice or a 7U game or a basketball game or a soccer game or something like that.
It's got to be really cool, though, to be able to just go out there and be able to help, you're looking back on it again. I'm thinking the Roberto Clemente style, right? Just go back and you got this struggling AA pitcher who just can't locate a slider for his life, right? And then you're just that fresh set of eyes, right? Same coaches see him every day, so they may have to tell, but now you're like, hey, I just noticed you did this tip, right? So how fun is that to be able to help some of those younger guys and mentor them? Because I know they're not your kids, but it almost feels like helping you sports in a sense. I know it's minor league baseball, but I mean, how fun is that just to be able to help other guys try to succeed? Yeah,
I'll describe it this way. Probably the reason I do it is because I want someone else to be able to experience the joy that I had playing Major League Baseball. And if I can help somebody live out a 12-year Major League career, man, how satisfying is that? That someone else got to do, have the same amount of joy, happiness, experience that I had. And, if it's teaching somebody a new slider or teaching them a 2-seamer or figuring out how to hit that outside corner 7 out of 10 times, that's what it's all about.
Unbiased, though, do you take a look at some of the lower prospects a little bit deeper, having been one, that you're kind of looking for a diamond in the rough a little bit more than maybe other scouts would or development coaches might?
Yeah, there's definitely, you're always looking for that. Who's that guy that pitches like me that nobody thinks is any good right now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Moneyball.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's where you're finding value in the organization. So, but I mean, when I'm at these places, we're talking less about what your slider looks like and more of,
what are you talking to these guys about?
Thinking?
Yeah, there you go.
How can you convince yourself that your stuff is good enough to throw it across the plate? That is the number one conversation. How can you trust that when you throw a strike that you're not going to give up a home run? And you guys would think this is crazy, but the biggest problem with pitching always is not throwing strikes. You would think minor league baseball players, professional baseball players, they've got this down pat. They can throw strikes. They can, They just won't.
It's like the yips.
I've seen Ricky
It's not
Karcher.
really the yips, but they're just like, there's a little bit of like, I just don't want to give up a home run. And it's how can you get over that mental hump to be like, I don't care what happens. This is my best against your best. We'll see what happens. And then I'll live with the results. And that mental process is constantly being worked through.
What do you tell them? Like, what do you say to them then?
Well, for me, I give them how I dealt with it. For me, I had all these like one-liners that I would tell myself constantly throughout the game. Be a one-pitch warrior. Just execute the pitch. Do it like you did 1,000 times. I'd have Bible verses that I'd recite in my head. God did not give you a scared mind, but of power, love, and sound mind. So, like, I would say those things that, the joy of the Lord is my strength. I would say those things on the mound, not out loud, but like in my head. That would like, all right, you can do this. You can throw this two-seamer down and away to Mookie Betts. And if he hits a home run, oh well, you did your best. But that was probably like also going back, like the greatest joy of playing Major League Baseball is you got to face the best. And you got to see if your best was good enough to get those best. And every once in a while it was.
Is it ever weird to think back that like you were the best? Like you may not have been the best closer of all time, but you were the best at that moment. Like to me, that's kind of a surreal thing to think. You're calling Mookie Betts the best.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, you also are part of that best. You, Corey, a lot of other guys.
Yeah,
right?
you get to stand 60 feet 6 inches from Chipper Jones and Albert Pujols, and you get to throw your 90-mile-an-hour heater with nothing on it and see what happens.
Who tattooed you the furthest? Do you remember the biggest tape measure shot you gave
I don't
up?
remember. I just gave up like line shots. I didn't really give up like moon shots. I don't remember like a big moon shot. Giancarlo Stanton hit one. But he was Mike then. He was Mike Stanton then before he changed his name. He hit one like the second deck at the old Joe Robbie Stadium, Pro Player Stadium. Adam LaRoche is the first one I ever gave up, went in the second deck. That was a big one. David Ortiz hit one off me.
That's a big boy.
Big Poppy.
Hit a 3-run home run and in Nats Park, like went off like the back, like the batter's eye. It was pretty far hit. I remember, so the next day, I got the bucket in BP. So the bucket is the guy, everybody hits the balls and they throw it into the bucket, and then you got to bring the bucket to the BP pitcher. So I'm doing the bucket, and our bullpen coach comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, good job yesterday." I'm like, "Yeah, I gave up that 3-run homer to Ortiz." And he goes, "How much? You know how much money he makes?" I'm like, "I don't know, like 30 million." He's like, "Yeah. How much money do you make?" I'm like, "I don't know, 400,000 league minimum." He goes, "He's supposed to hit that home run off you."
It's totally fair, though.
And I was
That's
like,
the coaching you need.
"Yeah, but you guys are going to send me back to AAA if I don't stop doing that," that kind of stuff. So, funny little stories.
What one last baseball question, then I'll turn it back to Mitch because we're winding down here. Watching baseball now, and I mean, obviously Skeens or Scooball or something like that's an easy answer there. But who's a diamond in the rough that we might not know that is just got some nasty stuff that you've been able to analyze? Because like I've been telling people since we drafted him, Chase Burns, and I know it's an easy pick now because he's just tearing guys up. But you could see it early, and he was just running through the minors. Anybody out there you can call your shot to say this guy might be dangerous when we look back in a year and you're like, "Dude, Craig was right."
Yeah, I'll jump on Chase Burns. I actually got to see him pitch against our Fort Wayne single-A team in Dayton. I was there for the game. It was 42 degrees at game time in April, and he comes out throwing 97 with a nasty slider, nasty changeup, and he was pitching like it was 75 degrees outside. And I was like, all right, this guy's got it.
Yeah.
The mental toughness and the physical, he's just better than everybody else. There's not anybody that comes to mind like off the top. But I'll go Padres, Michael King, probably not a big name, but he's a good player. I don't think he's been to an All-Star game yet, but if he can stay healthy, he's gonna be a top 5 Cy Young guy in the coming years.
That's awesome.
Good prospect call. If the 12th round drafted version of Craig Stammen could sit across from you right now, what advice would you give him?
Ooh, I would tell him, stay true to your roots.
And it sounds like you did, buddy. And true to our roots, a beautiful transition. It's time for our game show we play every week. Craig, I have to ask you from our lawyers, are you interested in playing?
Let's do it.
Bill, are you interested in playing? I built it for you this week too, buddy.
Every week that I'm allowed to play, I get to play.
That's right, buddy. All right, Craig, you've stared down batters, pitched in packed stadiums, and survived the grind of Major League Baseball. But now it's time for your toughest challenge yet. This game is called Fastball or Foul Ball. I like that. See, that's a little bit. Okay. The rules are simple. We're going to throw you some of the weirdest, wildest baseball stories of all time. Some of them are 100% true. Others are complete garbage. Your job, and Bill's too, welcome, Bill, is to decide whether it's a fastball, which means true, okay, or foul ball, which means false, okay? Listeners, you can play along at home too. Yell it in your car or the gym, whatever. We don't care. Let's see if Craig knows baseball weirdness as well as he knows his ERA. You guys ready?
Yep.
All right. Fastball, true. Foul ball, false. Got it?
Got it.
We'll do points, and then the winner will win like a free Two Dads t-shirt or something. I don't know. Here we go. In 1974, the Cleveland Indians hosted 10-cent beer night, and fans stormed the field so badly the team had to forfeit the game. Fastball or foul ball?
Fastball.
Fastball.
That's a true. Both of you get a point there, all right? Babe Ruth once wore a cabbage leaf under his hat to keep cool during the game.
Fastball.
Foul ball.
That's a fastball. Bill up one right now. In 1960...
How's that keep you cool?
I think it just holds the moisture.
Yeah, keep it wet.
He's a great bambino. All right, here we go. Here we go. Back on track. In 1916, the Chicago Cubs experimented with glow-in-the-dark baseballs for night games. Is that fastball or foul ball?
Foul ball.
Foul ball.
That's a foul ball. That's incorrect. So that's correct for both you guys. Bill's still up one. A pitcher once threw a no-hitter while completely drunk. Fastball or foul ball?
Foul ball. It was on LSD.
Fastball. He was also drunk.
There's a fastball. It was
Damn.
David Wells.
So the fact
Or-
that actually is, it says
Doc
it was
Ellis.
Doc
It was
Ellis.
Doc
Yeah, it was
Ellis,
Doc
yeah.
Ellis, but it was LSD, not alcohol. So I technically count that as a foul ball.
That's fair.
I'm calling nefarious over here because I agree that it is LSD. It's not technically, it's not complete, it's not drunk. So
There's
I'm
definitely a guy that's done it drunk, though, probably.
Yeah, David Wells claims he did it.
undocumented. Okay, here we go. The shortest MLB player ever was 5'1" and walked in his only plate appearance. Fastball or foul ball?
Fastball.
Fastball.
That's a fastball. It's Eddie Gadel in 1951. He was 3'7".
Ooh.
That's a tiny.
That looks
I
like,
feel like I've seen a picture of that before.
Come to the ball game. Check out this little guy. We're going to put him in the game today.
That's Simon Birch right there. Okay, here we go. One MLB player was traded for a bag of baseballs and a bucket of fried chicken. Fastball or foul ball?
Foul ball.
Foul ball.
That's a foul ball. Close, but it was actually a bag of bats. The New York Yankees once wore pinstripes to make Babe Ruth look slimmer. Fastball or foul ball?
Foul ball.
Foul ball.
That's a fastball. They really did do that. Yeah, he was a big boy. He was a big
Wow.
boy. Yeah. That's a
Imagine
fun-
being that guy.
Yeah.
That's why they have the pinstripes.
Here we go. Nolan Ryan threw more no-hitters than some entire MLB franchises.
Fastball.
Fastball.
That's true. He threw 7 no-hitters, more than 20 teams currently. There was once an MLB game that ended in a tie because both teams literally ran out of baseballs. Fastball or foul ball?
Fastball.
Foul ball.
That's a foul ball. He's only down one. We've only got 3 more to go.
back.
Here we go. One pitcher threw a complete game with only 58 pitches. Foul ball or fastball?
Fastball.
Foul ball.
That's a fastball.
Let's go.
That was Red Barrett in 1944 with the windup against Curly Moe.
58.
Yeah.
I know my 50s history.
You gotta tell the opposing team that's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. They were just at that
ground
point.
ball after ground
Hey,
ball.
you guys are swinging.
It's just farmers and shipyard guys. Here we go. A major league player once hit a home run off a pitch that bounced before it reached the plate. Fastball or foul ball?
Foul ball.
I'm going to say fastball, and I know Vladdy did it, but I don't think it was a home run.
Yeah, I don't think it was a homer.
It is a fastball, and it happened in 1887, but it was later the rule was changed. That's going to close it out for Bill. Let's do last one for fun. In the 1980s, the White Sox had a promotion where fans got to manage the team for an inning. Fastball or foul ball?
Foul ball.
Fastball.
It's a foul ball, but this one's a home run. Thank you so much, Craig, for being here. Bill, anything you want to say before we go?
No, I appreciate you coming through, and we'll see you out on the ball diamond next summer.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, guys.
Go St. Rose.